Good afternoon, everyone. It's Sandy with Urban Rebel Designs in Aztec, New Mexico. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I wanted to do a little something different today. I always like to do a little something different. So we're going to create texture on this glass jug. I think it's a jug that they use to make wine. I honestly got it at a yard sale, so I'm not sure. I love jars, glass jugs. Hi, Kelsey. Anything like that. But I like to update them a little bit. Good afternoon, Dixie Belle. So we're going to be using Sea Spray today, which is Dixie Belle's texture additive. And I'm going to be using two different colors of Dixie Belle paint. I am using Sea Glass, which is a gorgeous sort of a grayish blue. It's really light. It is beautiful. And then I'm going to be using Buttercream, which is probably one of my favorite colors of Dixie Belle, to do the top coat. So we're going to get started. If you haven't used Sea Spray before, let me tell you, it is fabulous. I love it. It's really simple and easy to work with. I've got just a plastic fruit cup, and I'm going to pour. I don't need a whole lot of paint for this, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of the Sea Glass, and mine's a little thick, but I'm going to pour a little bit of the Sea Glass into my plastic fruit cup, and then I'm going to add 1 scoop, because it calls for 2 scoops for an 8-ounce jar of paint. And so I'm not using quite an 8-ounce jar, and I want it a little bit thick, so I'm using a whole scoop for just that amount of paint. So I'm just going to dump that in. I get these popsicle sticks, tongue depressors, whatever you want to use to stir it, and we're just going to stir it really well. And this is going to create a texture. It's sort of like a really heavy brownie batter. If you want it a little thinner, add more paint, or in my case, I'm going to add just a tad bit of water. Now, I'll back up and tell you that I cleaned my glass jar really well, washed it out, and washed the outside of it, and then I cleaned it with alcohol. I am not going to use Slick Stick on this, because this is going to be purely a decorative piece, so I really don't need that. Plus, when you add the Sea Spray texture additive to your paint and it thickens it up, it sticks really well on the jar. But as you can see here, see there, it's sort of like a thick brownie batter or cake batter. This is the easiest thing in the world to do. Hey, thanks for sharing. I get it mixed up fairly well. If you have a couple of little lumps still left in it, that's fine, because we're creating texture. So I'm going to lay this over here, and then I just take a cheap chip brush. Can anybody say cheap chip brush 3 times really fast? I can't. I get tongue-tied too easy. And the secret to using the Sea Spray is we're creating texture, so I'm just going to dab it, and I'm not really even going to worry about covering the entire surface. You can see I still have some spaces that aren't covered, because we're going to do a top coat with the buttercream. So let us know where you're joining from. Like this video, comment on it, and share it. And when the video is over, Dixie Belle is going to go back through and pick a winner. And what you will win is your choice of colors of 8-ounce paint. And let me tell you, one of the things that I love most about the Dixie Belle paint, besides the coverage, and that you can use it on literally anything you can get to stand still long enough to put paint on, is it takes so little. I like to describe it as the pigments are dense enough that even if you want to water it down and make a color wash, which you can, and it's gorgeous, the coverage goes a long way. I can use an 8-ounce jar practically forever. So I'm just dabbing this on to create the texture that I want. As I don't know if I can get this, there you go. So I have covered that side just that quick. So I've already done this side of the jar and it's dry. And if you can see, let me get it up here. You can see all the texture that's there. So now what I'm gonna do is, hope I can open my jar of buttercream because I've had it open before. There we go. And I'm gonna do something that you should never do. I'm gonna dip straight from the jar. If you dip straight from the jar, you run the risk of contaminating your paint. And if you've ever opened a jar of paint that's been contaminated, sometimes it doesn't smell the best in the world, but for demonstration purposes, I'm dipping straight out of the jar. So do as I say, not as I do. And now what I'm gonna do, the side that's dry, I'm just going to do a top coat with the buttercream. And you'll see when I do this, if I can hold it up, it's a little bit heavy. I'm covering in the spots that I missed with the Sea Spray and Sea Glass paint mixture. So like here is a spot that I missed, and that's fine because that just creates even more texture. And I'm sorry if I'm missing questions, because it's a little hard for me to see this right now. I'm not coordinated enough to do 13 things at once. I can do 12, but I can't do 13. So I'm gonna finish up this side, and then, forgive me, I'm gonna make a little noise because I'm gonna use a heat gun to dry our top coat really quick so I can show you what it's like when we sand it back. So if noise bothers you, you may want to turn your sound down for just a minute, and when I'm finished, I'll give you a thumbs up and you'll know to turn the sound back up. So I'm going to use a heat gun. Be careful if you're using a heat gun, don't get it too close because you can bubble your paint. But I'm just going to dry this really quickly. And since I put it on a little bit thick, it may take it a little longer to dry. But doing it this way, it's gonna dry really quickly anyway. So don't forget to like this video, comment, and share for your chance to win your choice of an 8-ounce jar of Dixie Belle paint. You get to choose the color. I would give you my favorite color, but honestly, all 64 colors are my favorite. So now I'm just taking a piece of sandpaper. This is 80 grit. I also have a 220 grit here, and we're just going to, that's dry enough, it's a little tacky, but where we have all of the, and it's hard to see right there, where we have all of the lumps and bumps, we're just barely gonna hit it to knock those back. Actually, I'm gonna go to 220. That 80 grit's just a little too heavy for my liking. And so we're just knocking it back so you can see, you get the sea glass colors coming through. If you had some lumps and bumps that were still in your Sea Spray paint mixture, don't worry about it because they're gonna come off right now. And this is a nice way of creating that chippy peely look that everybody loves right now. And I'm just going over this very lightly. And so there you can see, and I'll probably do some more sanding on it, but see where the color is coming through and how it gives that gorgeous old texture to it. And after this is completely dry, now I'm going to try it without it being completely dry on this portion, but I will wait when I finish this project off camera until everything is completely dry, and then I'm going to use my very, very favorite grunge gray wax. So I get some on the ends of my wax brush, and then I tap it off a little bit on the lid, and I don't know how this is going to work because it's still a little bit tacky, but what I would do is just go in with my grunge gray wax just to age it a little bit more. I love to paint furniture, and I paint furniture every day. On occasion I like to do something different and do a piece of home decor. So that's what I decided to show today. And just gonna go in just in this area and show you just a little bit about how it looks with the wax. And then I'm gonna go back with my sandpaper and just smooth it out a little bit. And so there you can see, if I can get it up here, this is without the wax and this is with it. So it just gives it a little bit more of an aged look. I love the texture on the glass jugs. It's something different that you're not going to see everywhere. And again, I used Dixie Belle's Sea Spray texture additive. It calls for 2-level scoops into an 8-ounce jar of paint. I didn't want to mix up a whole jar of paint, so I just sort of eyeballed it. And I mixed it with the Dixie Belle Sea Glass, which right now is one of my favorite colors, but my favorite colors change from time to time. And then I did my top coat in buttercream. And after it's completely dry, just to accent some of the texture, I went in with my favorite grunge gray wax. And just that easy and that quickly from something that you get at a yard sale or a salvage store, or maybe you already have one. It's just a glass jug that I got, but I've created something totally new and different that can be used as a home decor piece. Thanks for watching. I'll try to go back after the live ends and answer any questions that I missed. And join us every day. Look for us every day on the Dixie Belle Paint Company site, because we have a lot of different people who share some really wonderful ideas. Thanks for joining me. Bye.